Well, welcome back to another episode of Buffalo Happy Hour. Mike, what's good, my dude?
Derek, another day not married to Emma Watson.
Oh, you're switching it up, huh?
I'm going to keep
Anna
the trend.
Kendricks, Emma Watson.
You know?
Who's next month?
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Huh?
You know? But
If you had Anna Kendricks and Emma Watson in the same room right now, and both of them were hypothetically interested in you, who would you go with? This is a super realistic situation because both of them could be interested in you, especially now with your beard.
I feel like I would rub a little bit too much with Emma when it comes...
Easy. This is a PC show, dude. What are you talking about rubbing?
When it comes to politics, she's very, very feminist.
Emma Watson is?
Yeah. Anna Kendricks, I feel like, is much more down to earth. And if she ever sang in the shower, I wouldn't be mad. Probably would just like sit down in the hallway outside with the door closed, just listening to her.
She just grabs a plastic cup and just starts, I got a ticket for the wrong way around.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I would connect better with Anna. However, Emma is just
smoke.
It's just beautiful.
Yeah. So
everything about her is just perfect. Her bone structure, her skin, she's just so nice. She's so kind.
So I got a question for you because I do this quite a bit and I want to see if everybody else is as crazy as I am. When you're watching a show, like let's just say Blacklist, and you see somebody that's very attractive,
Elizabeth Keene,
like Hisham.
Kasham?
That was a joke. That was what's his face, not Red's dude.
Right.
What's his name?
Kasham is
Hisham Tawfiq or whatever. It's Red's dude. What's his name?
Yeah. Hold on.
What the hell's his name? Red's right hand guy.
Yes, Dembe.
That's it.
Gotta give me a second.
Dembe's an attractive dude.
Oh God, yeah.
I like Dembe.
Yeah, I love Dembe, and I love his sweaters. I love Dembe sweaters.
Dude, Dembe's a G.
You gotta watch season 10.
I love Dembe. I will. I still have to watch season 2 or season 9, dude.
Yeah, season 9 isn't bad.
So you're watching Blacklist, or we just got done with Suits, and obviously everybody knows Meghan Markle. But like, let's say you're watching Blacklist and you see, what was the one show that happened recently? The
Last Kingdom?
No, Peaky Blinders.
Okay.
Have you ever seen Peaky Blinders?
A couple episodes.
So there's that smoke blonde, Annabelle Wallace or whatever.
Yes.
I Google people a lot. Like I try to figure out who they are as people because I want to see, one, are you smoking real life or is this just showbiz going on? 2, what's your Instagram like? Mm-hmm. And I go to their Instagram and like one of the first posts is like free Palestine.
Right.
Like, are you inherently angry or are you just like,
it's Hollywood.
It's whatever. Oh, no. The person that I was thinking of was, were you a fan? I mean, you were a Disney kid, but did you watch Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide at all when you were younger?
Some episodes.
So Lindsay Shaw, Mosley.
Yeah.
She was cute back in the day.
Yeah.
Like when I was a young guy, I was like, okay, I could. Mm-hmm. She's been posting free Palestine stuff over like the last 4 months.
Yeah, and then you also have Hillary Duff, who's like walking the streets with a Glock.
Yeah. And I'm like,
love her.
What are you doing? Like, I understand this is Hollywood, and like you kind of have to prove your worth in Hollywood.
Yeah.
But like, does everything have to be political? Because I'm going to your page.
Correct.
Like, you go to my page, and I'm clearly on the same level as like Lindsay Shaw and Hillary Duff, obviously.
Of course.
Verified for sure.
Yeah.
So like, you go to my page, and you don't know if I'm Republican or Democrat. You go to your page, you might, kind of, but like not really.
You would assume I am, just because I also listed the fact that I was in the service. So it was like, okay, he's guaranteed to be a Republican.
You would assume that you love your country. Whatever that means, mostly Republican, but whatever that means is... like,
heaven forbid.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Heaven forbid I love where I was born.
But is it necessary for everybody to post like what side you're on, like free Gaza,
Yeah, no,
free
it's terrible.
Palestine, Israel. Like, is it necessary, or can we just like go on to see food? Like when you initially first got Instagram, it was all like, oh, do I really want to see that you had chicken cordon bleu last night? But now it's like, do I really want to go on and see that you're for the border? Like, just post your food, dude. What are we doing here?
Right.
You're ruining it for me because I thought that you were hot on the show, and now I see that you're dumb in real life, and now I just don't like you anymore.
Right.
I just don't get it.
Yeah. That's also why I love, like, some of the dudes so much. Like, Alan Richardson, like, I swear to God, if I ever meet that dude, we're instantaneously going to be best friends.
No, you're not, because he's an insane liberal.
No. We're the same person.
Alan Richardson is completely opposite from you. The only thing that you guys
We're not,
have,
though.
yes, you are. The only reason that you guys are somewhat similar is because he played Thad Castle in Blue Mountain State, and that's like your aura.
We
but
have
the
the
dude is
same-
an insane liberal.
We have the same sense of humor.
But he's a liberal, though.
No, dude, we both love cookies. We both love to lift.
God, everybody fucking loves cookies, Mike.
No, not everybody. Not with
my
gluten.
God.
Not people with gluten allergies. Not people that are allergic to salmonella. There's.
I think everybody is allergic.
I swear, dude. Like every single time you post a video and I watch it, I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm with you. You know, like he's got this weird thing with Crumble Cookie going on. Like I'm all about it. I just feel like we're two kids at heart, you know, outside of his politics. He might actually be onto something with some of it. But I feel like if you actually sit him down and have a legitimate conversation, he's very understanding. If he's very liberal, he wouldn't have stopped a robbery in the middle of the streets in Canada when he was walking with his wife to go to dinner.
Right.
I mean, he literally pulled a reacher and like threw the dude up against the building and held him there until the cops showed up.
He is a beast.
He's a beast, dude. Like he's a normal dude. You know, like that's...
But like that's the Hollywood stuff that we're talking about. Is like people just overemphasize the fact that they're righteous because of Hollywood.
Now there's there's two other people as well that I feel like I would actually be friends with. One is Ryan Reynolds, and the other is I apologize. The whiskey's kicking in. Jim Halpert. What's his real name?
Oh, John Krasinski?
Yeah, John Krasinski. And the only other reason why is because what year is it?
2024.
It's been 4 years.
Did you really just ask me what year it is?
Yeah, it's been 4 years.
The whiskey's really kicking in.
So it's I don't know if I'm allowed to say this. So I'm gonna censor how I say this. I had to sign an NDA.
Yeah, we already talked about this.
No, we didn't.
Yes, you did. You went to his office. We already talked about this.
Well, right, but I'm not going to say like how or like what building or whatever the case. Like I'm going to leave that out. What I'm going to say is when he was working in Buffalo and everyone's like around the overpass and like all the roundabout like throughway entrances and stuff, and they're like yelling at him saying like, "Can you sign this?" Like, "Oh my God, I love you." Like, "Oh, Jim Halpert," like not even calling him by his real name. And he literally just asked the building, "Can I just have a different parking spot just so I can just kind of like get in and out and not be like hounded?" I also kind of respect that, but he's a super normal dude.
Yeah.
And I just feel like those guys you could actually just go have a beer with, you know?
100%.
Just go relax. When he met his wife, he was freaking out. He's like, "There's no way she's in my league."
Right.
There's no way.
So my question to you, just because we're talking about this and we're talking about like Emma Watson posting liberal stuff or this person posting like this type of stuff, do you think Hollywood has that much control over what you can and can't post that even though you know that Alan Richardson would have stopped a burglary in Canada, but he's contractually obligated by Hollywood to post free I'm not saying he posted free Palestine.
I also don't know if he is.
He's posted a lot of liberal stuff.
No. What I'm saying is I don't know if he's contractually bound to post that.
I got you.
What I think happens is you're forced into a specific side of the spectrum so that you're literally constantly fighting to be inside of the good boy club, you know, or like the boys club or the girls club. And you don't want to not get a gig because they know that you're outside of the mold or you're speaking out against this or whatever the case may be. And I think a lot of it is I'm just going to follow. It's not like I'm going to follow the trends and just fly under the radar and go from there. I just think a lot of it is I just don't want to get villainized or kicked out of the only way that I know how to make money, or the only way that I want to make money, I should say. And I don't want to lose this opportunity just because I may or may not agree or disagree with something. I'm just going to kind of just, I think there's that. The other thing is, because I've spent time in LA, not to sound pretentious, but like when you're there, it's such a different environment. And there's so many things impacting you at once where you're more open to things just because it is LA and California. Like, honest to God, at noon, it's perfect outside. All the clouds dissipate. The fog gets burned off. Like, it's gorgeous outside.
Forest fires stop for a second.
Right. Like, everything is about health. Everything is about like you and your well-being, and it's a totally different vibe in California, specifically LA. Way different. And it's not this like, there's a stereotype around Buffalo and the Rust Belt, and then there's a stereotype around the South, and then there's a stereotype about the West, and specifically California and like LA and San Francisco, and everyone's trying to figure it out or piece it together, and those stereotypes exist for a reason. Like, I have a beard. I chop wood. I live in the woods.
Right.
Like, we live in the South towns. It's different than the North towns. Like, those elements exist. When you're in California, those same elements exist about California, where, like, yeah, we're hippies. We're just free vibing and living, dude. Like, I'm just trying to go to the beach after I'm done with my lift. Like, I'm just trying to, like, yeah, I go to work, but that's not everything. Like, I'm really just focused on enjoying my life. Those elements all exist in different regions around the country, and I think there's that element too, where you're going to be surrounded by that and in that and live in that as an actor or actress, and it directly impacts what you post. Like, I was so outwardly optimistic and positive after I came back from LA, because I'm just like, dude, what are you so negative for? And I'm just like, well, it's just so goddamn gray outside. Like, I get it, dude, but like, that's not all your life is about. Like, stop focusing on the fact that there's seasonal depression. Take some vitamin D and go work out. Like, go do something else.
But then you're here for a long time and you're like, okay, I'm seasonally depressed.
Correct. Because that's a real thing and it happens. You know what I mean? So, like, that's why it's important to travel. And that's why, like, our friend right now is in Japan. And it was just like, okay, great. We're trying to do some things. I need some light. But like, it is what it is. So it's just kind of, it's just weird, man.
Yeah.
Like, but I don't hold it against them. Useless fact?
Useless fact. Go for it.
No comment?
I mean, I just think that in that situation, just don't post.
If
you're gonna post something because
sound.
I know, right? If you're gonna post something because you feel like if you don't, you're not gonna get a gig because they'll think that you're something else, then just don't post in general. Like, why do you have to post polarizing content in general if you believe it or not? Like, too many people, and I know that some people say this and like some people get flack for saying this, but I don't really care. Too many people think that their opinion matters.
Agreed.
Whether it is you and I owning a podcast that nobody listens to, whether it's Alan Richardson, who is Jack Reacher, or whether it's John Krasinski. Like, too many people feel like their opinion matters and they want to sway people to feel a different way. When in reality, Instagram is made for you to post your food pictures, and it's made for you to post cool stuff and like landscape pictures and feel good. But we are so over inundated with the fact that everybody feels like you have to convince this person that to agree with you on this, or to not vote red or not vote blue, or everybody is so consumed with the fact that their opinion matters and they need to force somebody else to believe what they need to believe in, that we've lost the whole purpose of what social media is for, and that's to literally post cool shit that you're doing.
Yeah.
It's so stupid.
I mean, social media is the best and the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
So, useless fact. Get to it. Let's get to a cheerier topic. So people died in 1924.
Yeah. So in 2003, a man stole diamonds, gold, and other jewelry worth more than $100 million after breaking into a safe. Listen to this, Derek. The safe had 100 million possible combinations additionally protected by infrared heat detectors, a seismic sensor, Doppler radar, a magnetic field, and a security force. He was arrested because of one thing. What do you think it was? Obviously, you're not going to guess it, but what do you think brought this man down after breaking into the safe that was ridiculous?
He posted on social media.
No. You ready?
Yeah.
He left a partially eaten sandwich near the crime scene. The dude got hungry because we're men, and he was able to extract everything inside the safe, but he ate a sandwich and he left it there.
But
that's literally the meme of every true crime Forensic Files episode where it's like, oh, idiot.
Yeah.
Like they left the one hair behind and you're sitting there eating bonbons in your bed and calling that person an idiot.
And Ice Cube comes on the TV and he's like, I guess he wasn't that hungry then. And it's just like that dun 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 dun, dun. And that's how the season starts. It's like, dude, you couldn't have finished that ham sandwich before you went in.
Right. You know, eat. This is why it's crucial. Eat before whatever you go to, an event, work, whatever.
That's hilarious.
So, speaking of that, first of all, what kind of sandwich? I want to know what kind of sandwich. Was it PB&J? Are we talking ham and cheese? You know, is it a BLT? What did they take off the sandwich? Is DNA?
Yeah. I mean, if he didn't finish it, it has to be something lame.
Well, the other thing is, how did they take that sandwich and turn it into an actual piece of evidence to then find that person and then link that sandwich to the person? Obviously DNA for saliva, but like, how does that work?
So I think that type of sandwich, it has to be like peanut butter and jelly because, okay, so let's pretend that you're in this situation and you're eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And let's just say you put too much peanut butter on. Now your mouth's sticking together and you're not able to concentrate on getting through all of these controls that are in place for you not to get into that safe.
Yeah, it can't be peanut butter and jelly. It has to be something that you don't care about.
I'm thinking it is peanut butter and jelly, though, because then you're not finishing it because you're like, there's too much peanut butter on here.
That's not your thought, though. Like, food is fuel at this point. You're executing a massive heist that's well planned. You know, there's hours that went into this.
So what do you think it is? Chick-fil-A? They're not open on Sunday, so that's not right.
Correct. You know, and they wouldn't support crime. You know, praise God. So there's got to be some element of like a lunch meat with a condiment.
You think it's just basic turkey and mayo?
Or ham and Swiss with mustard.
So if you're going to go rob a bank, you really think your sandwich of choice is going to be like turkey and mayo or like ham and mustard? Like, are you going to go that plain Jane? Or are you saying, you know what, I'm more of a capicola guy?
Well, we're sane individuals who wouldn't rob a bank. So this person's not in the right frame of mind to begin with.
Why are you bringing a lunch to rob a bank? That's what I want to know.
Because they're not sane. Dude, for all we know, it might be peanut butter and fluff.
I would have went to like Jimmy John's or something before. Like I wouldn't like I wouldn't have had
there's too many cameras.
That's fair. I wouldn't have had though like, hey Gina, make me a PB&J. I'm going to go rob a bank quick. Like why are you bringing your own pack of lunch? At that point, why don't you just do a Lunchable?
Exactly. And it's got to be the pizza Lunchable. Everybody wants that mozzarella. You know, grow up, you know?
Can you imagine like eating Lunchables as a young kid was just prepping you to like have the best lunch before a heist?
That's true.
Let's look, this is when I wish we had a TV instead of this like cool blank wall here, is like, let's look up most popular Lunchable choices. Because I think you and I probably are aligned, but I wonder if we're aligned with the rest of the American population. Popular Lunchable.
No, because that search is probably going to bring up the fact that there's a ham Lunchable and everyone's going to select that, which makes no sense. No kid in the right mind is selecting that. They're not. They can't.
Popular Lunchables ranked from worst to best. Okay, so what do you think the worst Lunchable option is?
Dude, honestly, I've only had like 2 Lunchables in my life. One was the ham one, and then one was the pizza one.
Really? I used to have Lunchables all the time. They were so good.
I had Dunkaroos all the time.
So let's start. What do you think the best Lunchable was?
Pizza. Had to be.
Ew.
What? Exactly. That's why this search is nonsense.
Pizza and Treatza. That's the best Lunchable option. There's one kind of Lunchable that reigns supreme. Every other Lunchable is a race for the second place. The best version of them all is Lunchables Pizza and Treatza, and it's not even a competitive race. But it's a combination. So
is this based on sales?
For theirs pizza that composed of a whole wheat pizza crust, pizza sauce and mozzarella cheese, no pepperoni slices. You get an extra amount of mozzarella, but then you also get a dessert Lunchable pizza called the Treatza. This bad boy begins with a crust and chocolate chips coated with candy sitting on top of chocolate frosting.
That's what everyone ate.
That's number one.
Yeah, everyone because of the dessert pizza.
Number two. What do you think it is?
I don't even remember what they were.
Lunchable light bologna and cracker stackers.
Oh, I remember that one.
Yeah, those were good. Those were solid. Number 3 is ham and Swiss.
Okay.
Solid. It's a good choice. Number 4, ultimate deep dish pizza with pepperoni. So pepperoni pizza is coming in at 4.
Okay.
Lower than the ham cracker stack.
Which I don't know how I feel.
Do you want to throw hands about that? Because I feel like there's no way that pizza comes in at 4.
Who made Lunchables? What company?
I don't know.
Like where do these come from?
And number 5 is chicken kebabbles. I hate everybody. Can we just stick with like the normal stuff? Who made Lunchables? I feel like it was like I don't know. Who makes food? Like,
I don't know. Bison?
Lunchables.
Or no, Tyson. Tyson makes food.
In 1985 by Bob Drain.
Well, shout out to Bob. Yo, thanks, Bob. Thanks for helping us out as kids, Bob. Let's go.
Bob, what an underrated dude.
Yeah, what an underrated guy.
As a way for Oscar Mayer to sell more bologna and other lunch meat. So it was a ploy. So their ploy didn't even work because the number one seller is pizza.
Right.
So they're like, how do we sell more ham and lunch meat? And they're like, let's make a pizza Lunchable, which has nothing to do with lunch meat.
Pizza sells, baby. Pizza sells. Can't beat it.
I did not know that. I didn't know. I mean, I guess I knew that Oscar Mayer ran it. But.
Okay. So now I got another question because for some reason I want to ask you a serious question.
Okay.
So I'm talking about Anna Kendricks and Emma Watson.
Yep.
What female celebrity do you think you can actually marry? Also, I feel like Zac Efron and I could be friends.
Do I feel like I can act before or after the jaw surgery?
Whose jaw?
Zac
Yours?
Efron.
Oh, in general, but like I just feel like Zach's a bro.
Would you ask him to sing to you? Because I feel like I would ask him to sing to me.
No. I would allow that to happen organically. I would have a really like low grade, non-obvious plan that's very well thought out and meticulous and very like touchatism. And I would just find a way for him to sing while we hang out, and then I would just like record it.
So do you know who was casted as being Zac Efron in The Greatest Showman?
Originally?
Yeah.
Wasn't it Ryan Gosling?
It could have been. I don't know. But Brandon Urie from Panic at the Disco was originally casted as being in The Greatest Showman.
Well, I'm glad he didn't get it.
That would have been weird, wouldn't it?
Yeah, dude, Zach is perfect for it.
I love Zac Efron.
First name basis, like we're friends,
Yeah,
but
for
that's
sure.
fine.
So what was your question? Who could I actually marry? Because
who could you see yourself marrying?
Oh, okay. Because that's a completely different question. 'Cause
Correct.
Who can I actually marry? I hit the top with Gina.
Shut
Can't-
up. Jesus Christ. Yeah, I did too with Colleen, and then Blake Lively walks in the room.
But that's what I'm saying. I can't score Blake Lively. That's what I'm saying.
Correct.
So like your initial question of who
Ryan
can I
Reynolds
score?
barely scored her.
I can't even score Ryan Reynolds. That's where I'm at.
No, I would literally just like, I don't know. If he scratched his head, I would try to like collect some like hair follicles. Yeah, something.
So what is your actual question again?
So who could you actually see yourself marrying? That's an actual A-list celebrity.
Like, so we're under the assumption that everybody wants to marry me.
Sure. You got your pick of the litter.
Oh, God. Who can I actually see myself marrying?
Like, I could actually see us marrying Anna Kendrick and Emma Watson.
Us? Like
Yeah.
you and I together? Like a three-way?
No, not like we're Mormons, but like...
It's What's up, brother Steven?
one has one has the other, like type deal where it's just like a normal marriage and like.
First of all, I went to a drive-thru the other day. The kid's name tag said brother Eric or whatever. I don't know if that was a joke or if he was actually a brother. He was white, so not that type of brother. But I'm saying like a Mormon brother.
Interesting.
It was weird.
Yeah, hopefully not.
Who could I actually see myself marrying? That's a really tough question because I'm not. I don't know if my first thought when I watch a movie or anything, and I see somebody that is semi-attractive to me, my first thought is, would I marry you? You know what I'm getting at?
Yeah, but like then I'll watch multiple interviews that involve Jennifer Lawrence, and I'm like, I could marry you. Like, you make sense. You know? Her sense of humor, the fact that she borderline doesn't even belong in Hollywood because she's like not normal.
Yeah.
Like she's just way too relatable. Like she openly admitted to being drunk midway through an interview at late night TV, and she made the joke like, Aunt Jen is drunk on TV right now. Love you, to her family. Like that's just amazing.
Yeah.
I just feel like there's that element where it's like, yeah, you're one of us, one of us.
I don't know. I feel like I follow my first thing when I find somebody that I like is I follow them on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's my first. Like, and it doesn't really take much, I guess, for me to fall in love with somebody to be like, I just want to be your friend. Because
right.
I immediately followed Zendaya after watching Greatest Showman.
Yeah.
Because I feel like she's a cool person.
Right.
But like I wouldn't see myself marrying her per se.
Okay.
I don't know. I just feel like that's a very tough question because marriage is such a weird concept to me.
I also feel, so that's the meat and potatoes of this episode is marriage.
Correct.
But I also feel like there's a distinct difference between I actually want to marry you to I adore you and I just want to be your friend.
That's fair.
Yeah. So, useless stat of the episode. The current marriage divorce rate is 56%.
So it's going up?
Well, no. It's kind of consistent. What they did is they broke it out because years ago what they said was that the divorce rate was 75%.
Jesus.
Now, what they're actually saying is 56% of marriages end in divorce. Now, if you add in how many people want to get divorced but don't, and then if you take into account the amount of marriages that exist where they just refuse to get divorced when they know that they should, that's what bumps it to 56 to 75.
Oh, okay.
So right now it's currently 56%. And a lot of it is because the younger generation is waiting so long before they get married for the first time, which we're also guilty of.
Yeah.
So there's kind of because we took the Ben Shapiro motto of graduate from high school, graduate from college, get a career, then get married.
Do you think
then buy a house?
Do you think our generation though, like to that point, because I think you and I can both agree that we're anomalies in the situation where we went to the normal progression of things of going to college, getting a real job, meeting, getting engaged, getting married, and then having a baby. Like we went through the traditional way of going through life.
Okay.
But we're the anomaly. Would you agree?
In what sense?
In that sense, where we followed that traditional path.
I think our generation followed that path. Our graduating class of 2000, if even outside of our class, if you were to take 2007 to 2011 or 2012 at the absolute latest, I feel like that's what happened. Everybody in that age range, like that true generation, like the real, what used to be called Gen Y, before millennials came up and they reformed things, Gen Y did that.
So what do you think is taking our generation so long to get married then?
So I heard this and it made complete sense. And it was actually Joe Rogan, where the person that he was talking to said, I'm just stupid. And Rogan corrected him and said, you're not stupid, you're unaware, right? And I think that's very true. I don't think that it's a sign of intelligence or IQ. I think it's just a lack of awareness and overall situational awareness to understand more which would then allow you to make better decisions. And I think our generation did a really good job with understanding how a study works, right? And saying, okay, I'm going to collect all of the information that I possibly can before I make an educated decision, because I want to make, it's like a thesis. It's an educated guess. Mm-hmm. And I really want to understand what I'm going to get involved in. And that really helped us. I don't know why. And I really feel like our generation, I've said this since middle school, and I've always thought and I've always said that our generation is our grandparents. I've said it forever. And I think it's true. I think that we're raising kids that are going to break the societal nonsense that we're dealing with. That's what I call it. And we're really just going to set some things straight, because I know for damn well when my daughter's a certain age, I'm just going to tell her, like, and so is my wife, her mom, you're a girl, right? Like, that's not even a thing. Like, you're not a furry. You're not a dinosaur going to middle school. Right. Like, you're Ava Kelly and you're going to school. You know, like, this is what you're wearing today. Like, shut up and put your clothes on. Go to school. So I think a lot of that comes into play. And there's just so much to that. But I think that's why.
Yeah. So just as you were talking, I was trying to like also listen to you, but also think about your initial question of who would I marry? And the person that comes to mind, I don't know if you've ever seen the show Designated Survivor. Designated Survivor was a fantastic show. You should watch it because it was really good. The key person in there was Kiefer Sutherland. He was the main guy. Okay. Basically, the premise of the show is, and I'll get to your question in a second, but the premise of the show was he was an independent, registered, it's a political show. He was an independent. He was brought into a separate room during the State of the Union address because they always have to have a designated survivor just in case something happens during the State of the Union. State of the Union blows up, everybody dies. This is the only guy left to run the entire country. He's a random jamoke that runs like the Department of...
I remember when you watched this.
Yeah, it was a great show. Amazing show. The lead girl in that, her name is Italia Ritchie. She's married to... do you remember the show Green Arrow or Green Archer?
Yes.
With Stephen Amell?
Yeah.
I think it's Stephen Amell's brother that she's married to. She's a peach, dude. One, she's stunning. Two, she has an amazing sense of humor. She does like a lot of puns on Instagram, and she golfs. Like she would be that person that would be like, I could see myself marrying you. But a lot of people, I don't have that context of like, I would marry you. I'm just like, what would you be like? Like that's more my like mindset. But Italia Ritchie is definitely one of the ones that is like, Jesus Christ, things I would do. But anyway, so yeah, that would be my person. Now, what was your whole topic that you were just talking about?
Is divorce.
Yeah.
Being at 56%. And then you asked me about our generation
right.
and marriage.
I feel like our generation is waiting
longer to do things.
Yeah, and I don't know if it has to deal with the fact that we're not finding, like maybe it has to do with social media because our parents' generation, even our grandparents' generation, they celebrated like 80-year anniversaries. And like if you think traditional weddings, they always do that like, oh, if you're 10-year anniversary and you're still married, good, everybody lower than that, get off the dance floor. And like they get to the point where it's just the grandparents and it's like they've been married for 170 years together. And it's like, Jesus Christ. But I think that our generation has not embraced finding your partner in the community that you grew up in, which is making it longer for you to find the person that you're supposed to marry because you're not saying, I went to school with this person, this is my first love, this is who I'm marrying. Like our parents' generation, not necessarily, well, actually mine did, but like they're divorced now, so it doesn't really help the story at all. But our parents' generation was more apt to say, I married my high school sweetheart, where I feel like our generation, that doesn't happen anymore because we're so like, oh, but I found this hottie online. Let me go into those DMs. And even like the generation after us, nobody's meeting each other in high school anymore. It's all through online. So maybe that's why things are taking longer to develop and why we're seeing our generation be getting married in like late 20s, early 30s now, which means that we're not having kids until early 30s, mid 30s. So like what type of an impact is that going to have where when our kids are old enough to like do stuff, we're already in our late 50s? Like that's different than how we were raised. What do you think about that?
Being 50s and our kids dating?
Well, no, just like in general of us getting married later and then us having kids later to now we're like our parents, some people that we grew up with, their parents are like 20 years older than them.
Well, right. But I feel like it's all relative. I really feel like it's all relative because if you date back in history, most people died at like 32. Seriously. True. So when marriage first came up, you were only married for like 7 years and then you all died anyways, right? And marriage never went away, but the life expectancy drastically increased over time. So now people are living longer, but marriage is still marriage and you're still bound to that person. So I just feel like it's all relative. What I think, so the reason why this whole thing came up is because a friend of mine actually sent a video of a 20-year divorce lawyer talking about marriage. And it's an hour and a half on YouTube. And there's 5.1 million views on the video.
Jesus.
It's unbelievable. It's amazing. And he's spot on. And he talks about everything. He talks about how men always talk and think with one organ in mind.
Fair.
Right? And then he also talks about marriage and its historical context and what it's all about. And then he also talks about just marriage in general and how it really doesn't make sense. And it really doesn't. And the whole time I'm listening to him talk about marriage and divorce, I'm sitting there thinking, like, I'm happily married. Everything is fine. But we're always going to be fighting what we are as a species, which is a reproductive species at heart. Like, that's never going to go away because all we want to do is reproduce. And the reason is because it started with one of each gender, and it was just supposed to grow out. And our entire purpose of being here is to reproduce. All of the hormones say that. All of the science says that. Like, that's just the nature of the beast. Like, we're wired to reproduce and have intercourse. Like, that's it. And it's wild that you're introducing things that bind you to one person forever. Well, whether it's religion, whether it's society, doesn't, like, it is what it is. And it's just a really interesting dynamic to introduce into a species that is only here to reproduce. Yeah. And that's where I kind of struggle from like a logical and critical thinking standpoint of saying, why would you have such a positive and negative interact at once and coexist at once? Like, it's just fascinating to me. It really is, because there are so many times where I'm just like, yeah, like, I'm so glad I'm married. Like, I love it. I don't want to date. Emma Watson's on the TV. Why am I married? You know, like, I need her to know that I exist, you know, like, and you can't do anything about it. Like, you feel that that's a thing that happens. You acknowledge it and you're just like, okay, like, that's just evolution. Like, I can't do anything about that. Like, hey, like, still married, still good. Like, she doesn't know I exist. We're moving on, you know, like, we're going to bring it back into reality. And I know that happens when Zac Efron's on the TV. I know that happens when Justin Timberlake's...
For you or Colleen?
Both.
Oh, okay.
I know that happens when Justin Timberlake's on stage at the KeyBank Arena and we're watching the concert.
Right.
For both of us, you know, like, I'm also feeling that. So it's just like, it is one of those things. Like, you can't get away from it. But I know 1,000% my wife will leave me for JT.
What do you think? Can you look up who the first person that got married was? Like, what are we talking about? Like, from a contractually binding document that had witnesses and all that. Like, who was the first, or when did the first marriage actually happen? Because that is a very interesting thing that you bring up, where we're voluntarily entering into contractual agreements that says I cannot reproduce with anybody else.
The first recorded evidence of marriage ceremonies uniting one woman and one man dates from about 2350 BC in Mesopotamia.
Jesus Christ, that's earlier than I thought.
So also, I have a quote.
But was that like engraved in stone? Like, what was that contract like?
No, they had, it was parchment, but what was the early forms of parchment and paper that they wrote on? Do you remember?
No.
Yeah, that's like a 7th grade question. So I might remember that after like another glass when I dive real deep into my brain. So, and then it continues to say, over the next several hundred years, marriage evolved into a widespread institution embraced by the ancient Hebrews, Greeks, and Romans. Yeah, so Christianity.
Yeah, religion.
So there was a quote in that same video for an hour and a half, and let me find it because it's beautiful. I love poetry quotes. I love them. And this is from Joseph Brodsky, and he says...
Huge fan of him, dude.
Yeah, so he wrote a poem after his wife died, and he said, I wish I knew no astronomy when stars appear.
I wish I knew no astronomy when stars appear?
And he wrote that after his wife died.
What does that mean?
He's talking about, I wish I knew, because death do us part, right? And he's really talking about how he wished he knew nothing about it going in, but he knew everything about it going in. He knew that it was death do us part. He knew that it was in sickness and in health, in riches and in poor. Like those sacred vows of marriage. And then all of a sudden, his partner's gone. He can't do anything about it, and now he's alone. And he's sitting there reflecting on the fact that he just lost his wife, and that's his way of summarizing it. I wish I knew no astronomy when stars appeared, because I just didn't want to know that this is how it would felt. It's almost like getting a dog. Yeah. You know, it's literally almost like getting a dog. Like, it's amazing. It's your best friend. You love them forever, and then all of a sudden they pass. Worst thing ever. Like You're taking 3 months off of work, you're crawling in a hole and dying. Like it's the same thing. Like you're not going to be okay with Cleo. I won't be okay with Sam. Like we won't be able to record. It's going to be okay. Yeah. It's like a break. And like we're going to post it on our socials of like, I need time. Like, and it's worldwide accepted.
That's why we bash record friends.
Correct. Like it's just one of those things. So it's just a fascinating quote, but that's what it is. And I'm just so fascinated by marriage because like, why? You know, like why in that divorce attorney that talked about it is divorced. And what's also interesting is he talks about the dynamic of divorce and how it becomes so cutthroat. And there's certain people where he has clients across the board. He has like massive feminists that all of a sudden don't agree with feminist views when all of a sudden they got to pay alimony because that's the law and that's the reality and that's the real world. And then they're just like, oh, gender rules go out the window. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't want to pay him. It's like, oh, well, I thought you were a feminist, so it's like funny. And, he was talking about how he was talking to a client and they're outside the courtroom. They're like at recess or whatever. And she, or whatever it's called, there's like a break in the trial and he's talking to her and he goes, is there a point in the marriage where you knew? And she goes, yeah. And there was a time when, I had my favorite kind of granola and I used that granola for my yogurt. And every time I was running low on that granola, a bag just randomly appeared. We never talked about it. We never acknowledged it, but he always bought me that bag of granola. And then one time I was low on granola and it never got replenished. And
I divorced him.
Right? And what I did is I just thought like, oh, maybe he's busy. And I had it, but that's when the inclination started to sink. And so what I did was I finished the bag of granola and I took the bag out of the pantry. And then I just waited a couple days to see if he would buy a new bag of granola, and he never did. So then I threw the bag out, and I never said anything. And then the bag just never showed up. Like, he never bought it. And then I bought my own bag of granola after enough time. And he never noticed. And that's when I knew, like, this is it. So then the divorce lawyer, the divorce lawyer asked her.
So if I don't buy granola for Gina, she's gone.
So then the lawyer asked her, now, what do you think it was for him? What do you think is that one thing where he knew that it was over? And we can't say it because we're recording, but it was an act that a woman would perform on a man.
I gotcha.
Right. And she goes, when we first started dating, when we first started getting, when we first got married, I would just surprise him with it first thing in the morning. And then the rest of the day, there was like a pep in his step and he was all happy and he would shoot me a text and be like, wow, this morning was great. And then all of a sudden I stopped doing it. And, I just, for no reason, like I just did. And, that's when he probably realized, like, okay, maybe there's something off with me. And then so much time went on, and then it went from that to absolutely nothing. And then here we are. And he goes, it's crazy because it's something as small as that for him, and it's something as small as that for you.
So if you want a nut in the granola, you got to have a nut in the morning.
Correct. Yeah. So, and it was just such an interesting story because then it makes you question, like, okay, well now... And I did this because I'm listening to this entire thing for an hour and a half, and I'm just like, all right, I'm going to ask Colleen, what's one thing that I do that makes you appreciate our marriage? That we don't talk about, that we don't know, that we've never said before, but like, what is just one thing? And she gave me a generic answer, and which was quality time with no phones. Which is huge, especially in today's day and age. Like, we're out here running a business, but, and like, that's her love language is quality time. And I totally understand that, which I'm stoked for this weekend. Like, phones are gone. Like, it's just us. It's a little family, Sam, Ava, we're hanging out, whatever the case. And I'm pumped for it. And then I asked her, I was like, yeah, but I already knew that. So like, what else? Yeah. And she said, just words of affirmation of like, I'm a good mom. And I was like, that's wild. And then I was like, okay, because I do that every once in a while, but like I always surprise her with flowers. I always talk about, like, I always just give her compliments like, hey, you're doing great. Or randomly out of nowhere, like she'll put Ava to bed and she comes back down and we'll hang out and continue watching our show or whatever. And I'm just like, thank you for being such a good mom. Like, I did the dishes, And then she asked me, like, well, what is it for you? And I said, we're the ability for us to have hard conversations on topics that are really hard to talk about. And it, like, all of the things leading up to birth with Ava, all of those topics, like, okay, like, let's plan worst case. Let's have this discussion. What if it's you or the baby? What do we do? What if we know for 100% certainty that this is going to be the life of our baby? What do we do? Like, all of these things that where it's like, we got to talk about this. We got to talk about, right versus wrong, religion versus reality, society, like our personal opinions, how this would impact our families. What about the opinions of family and friends? Like, all of the things before the baby shows up, like those really, really hard conversations. Yeah. Then you're also talking about childhood trauma for me, like different things that she went through when she was a kid, like all of these different things. And I was like, that's what actually makes me feel more invested and feel closer to you in our marriage. Like that ability to have those conversations. And she's like, that's amazing. Like I didn't know that, like I love you. I was like, love you too, so like, it's just really cool that one video that's an hour and a half on YouTube stimulates and forces all of these different back-end conversations. It's just wild. Yeah, it's fascinating. And then all to realize that 56% of marriages fail in divorce, and it's all because of generally the same things, whether it's a lack of communication, a lack of understanding, and a lack of just doing the work, like it's just, dude, it's crazy.
Well, I feel like, and we can end this episode after this because we're getting a little bit long here, but pause. I feel like a lot of marriages end because our generation is very focused on infatuation versus long-term, like understanding and being committed to one person.
And I think, yeah,
you get
because
married,
of social media.
Yeah, you get married to somebody because you feel like they're gorgeous and like you want to be with this person because they're beautiful and all that stuff and like all the cosmetic things. And then you realize as people age, they change. Like you're not going to be as beautiful as you like cosmetically. You're not going to be 24 forever, right? Like you're going to age. You're going to gain weight. You're going to lose weight. You're going to do all this stuff. And like people get married for the wrong reasons, whereas you should be married because you want to start a family with somebody because you love them, because you love who they are as a person. And that to me is the underlying reason as to why a lot of these marriages fail, is because a lot of people mistake lust and attraction for love, where people are attracted to the beauty and like the newness, I guess, of the love, and not really focused on what makes a person a person. And as soon as that lust goes away because something happens, or like they gain weight or they lose weight or they're not as attractive anymore, that's when the surface level love goes away because you weren't invested at a personal level.
And it's crazy because we were taught at a young age by our dads, like, oh, that's your girlfriend, that's cool, what's her mom like?
Yeah.
You know, like, marry her mom, don't marry her daughter.
Right.
Because the woman you marry will become her mother.
Mm-hmm.
And do you want to spend time with her mother? Are you attracted to her mother? Because that's what her daughter's going to turn into.
Right.
And that lesson is everything.
Oh, yeah.
Everything. And if you're okay with that, then rock and roll.
Yeah.
You know, because the smoke show daughter at 22 years old, fresh in college, who's a 3-sport athlete, what does her mom look like? The complete 180? Guess what's going to happen?
Right.
You know, like and where you really see that is Eastern Europe, where people just drop at like 35 and they're nowhere near as what they looked like before then. So, and it's a number of different things, genetics, whatever the case, but like there's so much truth to that. Yeah. It's crazy.
It's absolutely crazy. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in to today's episode. We really went into like the whole marriage topic and divorce. So if this is something that you were interested in, I don't know if we'll have the same conversation next week, but you can tune in to hear what that next week conversation is like. Hopefully you all enjoyed. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe to the video. It helps us grow, or whatever you may say for YouTube. We appreciate all of you tuning in today. If you did have some whiskey or any type of drink while listening to us, we always recommend to drink responsibly. Be a good person. And Michael,
do not litter.
We're out.